The new intern spilled coffee on my husband on purpose. Then caught his hand with tears in her eyes. She was waiting for me to make a scene. She wanted me to become the vicious wife. In the comments scrolling through her mind. What she did not know was that I could hear every one of those comments. She also did not know that I controlled 37% of the company. Through my family trust. The comments called her the heroine and me the disposable wife. I intended to show her who actually had the power to rewrite the story. When I opened the CEO's office door, I found Lily Parker on her knees. Coffee had soaked a broad patch of her white blouse, staining it from her collarbone down across her chest. Her eyes were red as if someone had done something unforgivable to her. My husband, Adrian Holt, was bent over her, one hand wrapped around her wrist. His suit jacket rested over Lily's shoulders. There was no innocent way to read the tableau. My assistant inhaled sharply behind me. Beyond the glass walls, the executive floor fell silent. I stood in the doorway and stared at the jacket for 3 seconds. I had chosen it for Adrian's birthday the year before. It was handmade in Italy, with a tiny embroidered S hidden inside one cuff. My initial. Now another woman was wearing it. Lily looked up as though I had terrified her. Her voice trembled. "Miss Shaw, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I lost my balance while carrying the coffee. And Mr. Holt was only helping me up." Her words were timid. The excitement in her eyes was not. Then a voice rang beside my ear. "Here she comes. The vicious wife has finally arrived." I froze. Who had said that? Tears still shone in Lily's eyes and her lips still quivered. But the voice came through with perfect clarity. "Come on, yell at me. Hit me." The comment said that once she humiliates me in public, Mr. Holt will finally hate her. Rich girls like her are so stupid. They cannot take the slightest provocation. Once she loses control, I get to become the innocent girl. The male lead protects my fingers went still. Comments. A heroine, a vicious wife. Lily remained on the floor. Adrian's jacket hanging loose, enough to expose the pale line of her neck. Adrian frowned at me, instinctively softening his tone. "Serena, don't misunderstand." The coffee almost burned her. I was just, what exactly am I supposed to misunderstand? I cut him off. Adrian blinked. The anticipation in Lily's eyes sharpened. "Do quit. Ask if he cares about me. Everyone is waiting for the showdown." I crossed the office, my heels clicking against the floor. Every eye on the executive level followed me. I bent and reached out. Lily flinched automatically. But excitement flickered beneath the fear. She thought I was about to slap her. I smiled and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Why are you so frightened? Don't bite." Lily went rigid. So did Adrian. I glanced at the jacket around her shoulders and made my voice impossibly kind. "Was the coffee hot? Are you hurt?" Her mouth opened. No, I'm fine." "Good." I straightened and turned to Adrian. "The poor girl is terrified and you're leaving her on the floor." His brow tightened. Clearly, this was not the reaction he had expected. Released Lily's wrist and she rose slowly. Inside her head, the voice exploded. "What is happening? Why didn't she hit me?" The comment said. "She would charge over and slap me like a maniac." Why is the story changing? I almost laughed. So the all-knowing comments were not all-knowing after all. Adrian lowered his voice. "Serena. What brought you into the office today? Am I not allowed to come?" "That isn't what I meant." I looked at Lily. "Is this the intern you mentioned a few days ago?" Adrian nodded. "Lily Parker. She's new to marketing. She has potential." Lily immediately lowered her head. "It's nice to meet you, Miss Shaw." I smiled. No need to be so formal. Her eyes brightened. She pretending to be gracious. The comment said, "The nicer the vicious wife acts now, the worse she'll become later." I watched her and added slowly. "Starting today, you'll be reassigned as my assistant." The smile froze on Lily's face. Adrian frowned. "Serena. She's doing well in marketing. What do you need her for?" "I like her." I stepped beside him and smoothed his tie with 2 fingers. "A girl this clever, this delicate, and this good at making you worry deserves close attention. I wouldn't trust her to anyone else." Adrian's expression shifted. Lily screamed silently, "No. I can't work for her. I still have to win." "Mr. Holt. How am I supposed to raise his affection score from her office?" Comments say something. A few seconds later, her thoughts changed. The comments say it is fine. Working for her is even better. The more she bullies me, the more Mr. Holt will pity me. If I endure everything, he'll see. Her true face gave a satisfied nod. "Excellent. When someone volunteered to become evidence, it would be rude not to accept. I headed for the door. As I passed Lily, I said quietly, "My office. 9 tomorrow morning." She gave me a timid nod. "Yes, Miss Shaw." At the threshold, I stopped and glanced back at Adrian's white shirt. The coffee stain was so faint it was barely visible. His jacket, however, was still around Lily's shoulders. "One more thing, Adrian." He looked at me. "That jacket is dirty. Now get rid of it." I did not raise my voice. Everyone in the outer office heard me. "I don't want a gift I gave you after someone else has worn it." Silence swallowed the floor. Adrian went pale. Lily's shoulders trembled as if I had publicly destroyed her. Inside, she was cursing me, "Bitch. What is that supposed to mean?" The comments were right. She really is the villain. I did not look at either of them again. In the mirrored elevator, I studied my own face. Good. I had not lost control. I had not screamed. I had not cried. I was Serena Shaw. I had helped Adrian build Astron Group at 18. Married him at 24, and stepped away from daily management at 29. The public thought I was a pretty wife. Adrian kept tucked away in our suburban estate. They did not know that Astron's first investment had come from the inheritance my mother left me. They did not know I had personally signed our first core clients. I did not know my family trust still held a 37% voting stake, making me the company's largest individual shareholder. I had simply grown tired of standing in front of cameras. Now I saw the problem. Some people sat in a borrowed chair for so long that they began to believe it belonged to them. Lily arrived at my office precisely at 9 the next morning. She wore an ivory dress and a low ponytail, holding a folder to her chest. She huddled in the doorway. "Miss Shaw, I'm here to report for work." I glanced up. "Come in." She walked as if the floor might crack beneath her. That fragile performance could soften almost any man. Unfortunately, for her, I was not a man. I pushed a thick set of account files across the desk. "Reclassify these clients by industry, company size and stage of engagement. Put everything into a spreadsheet and send it to me by 3. Lily flipped through 2 pages and the color changed in her face. "All of this by this afternoon. Is there a problem?" She bit her lip. "No. I'll do my best. This is too much. She's making it impossible on purpose." The comment said. "She would torture me with work until I fainted. And Mr. Holt would find me and he'd know how cruel she is." I took a sip of coffee. "All source documents stay inside Astron system. Downloads and edits are logged. Do not use a personal email account, a thumb drive or an outside cloud service." Her fingers stiffened. What does she mean? Does she know I plan to send the files to Mr. Holt? I smiled. "You can go." At noon, someone knocked on my office door. Adrian walked in carrying a paper bag from my favorite sushi place. "Still working." I kept my eyes on the screen. "Did you need something?" He sat the bag on my desk. "I brought you lunch." "Thank you." I already ate. I had not. But I did not want anything he had brought me. Adrian watched me for several seconds. "Are you still angry about yesterday?" At last, I looked up. "Why would I be angry, Serena?" He sighed. "Lily is only an intern. You don't need to treat her like an enemy." I laughed. "I treated her like an enemy. She messaged me this morning. You gave her a huge stack of files and she's worried she won't finish." I leaned back and studied him. And he rubbed the space between his brows. "Just graduated. There is a lot she doesn't know. Don't be so hard on her. Adrian Holt." The sound of his full name made him pause. I turned my monitor toward him. It displayed the messages Lily had sent him half an hour. Through Astron's enterprise chat. Company policy retained. Work-related messages sent from corporate devices. And the data loss prevention system. Flagged messages about protected client files. Lily clearly had not read the notice she signed. Her messages were illuminating. "Mr. Holt, does Miss Shaw dislike me? She gave me so many files. I'm afraid I can't finish today." "It's okay. I'll work hard. I don't want to disappoint you." Adrian's expression changed. "Would you call that a status report?" I asked. "Or complaining about her manager to the CEO?" He said nothing. This is her second day. Instead of raising a workload issue with her direct supervisor, she goes over my head to seek comfort from the chief executive. Is she a naive new hire? Or has someone made her believe she is entitled to special access? Adrian frowned. "Serena. Stop assuming the worst of people." Nearly laughed from sheer disbelief. Then Lily's inner voice drifted in from the hall. "Mr. Holt must be defending me. The more controlling Serena becomes, the more suffocated he'll feel. Men like gentle, understanding women." All I have to do is look vulnerable. I rose, strode to the door and yanked it open. Lily stood outside holding a cup of coffee. She had obviously been listening for some time. She jumped, nearly spilling the drink. Miss Shaw, I came to bring you coffee. I looked straight at her, hurt enough. Her eyes reddened on cue. I wasn't listening. You don't need to finish the files this afternoon. Lily stared, then exulted. Inside, she backed down. She's afraid Mr. Holt will feel sorry for me. I took the coffee and set it on my desk. Go to Human Resources. And get copies of the Code of Conduct and Data Security Agreement. Write out each document 3 times by hand and put them on my desk. Tomorrow morning. Her face went white. Serena, Adrian began. I turned to him. Does the CEO object to his own compliance policies? His lips moved, but no words came. I smiled without warmth. At Asteron, we train interns to make honest mistakes. But an intern who ignores policy and treats her manager and CEO as props in her private drama needs a lesson she will remember. Lily's head snapped up. Fear flashed in her eyes. What did she just say? Props in my drama? Can she hear my thoughts? I lifted the coffee and smiled at her. Off you go. Lily became afraid of me. She did not stop. The comments in her head kept feeding her confidence like poison. Don't be scared. The villain is making one last desperate struggle. Mr. Holt is already wavering. Next, take control of Project Orion and become the irreplaceable genius. In turn, Project Orion was Asteron's most important initiative of the year. An artificial intelligence platform designed to help clinicians identify high-risk patients. Earlier, winning the hospital network's contract could double Asteron's valuation. I had proposed Orion. I had personally recruited its core machine learning team. Public credited Adrian because he was the CEO standing on stage. That morning, the Orion team met in the main conference room. As my assistant, Lily had no reason to attend. Adrian personally asked her to sit in. Several executives exchanged glances when she entered. I took the chair to Adrian's right and said nothing. Lily sat at the far end with a notebook open recording every word. Halfway through the meeting, our chief technology officer, Marcus Reed, raised the issue of data compliance. Our largest obstacle is longitudinal data from major academic medical centers. If we cannot obtain it legally, the model will not meet the accuracy standard in the RFP. The head of business development nodded. I've approached several systems. Their privacy and legal teams are cautious. Adrian considered that Lily spoke in a small voice. Actually, I might have an idea. Every head turned toward her. She startled prettily and waved her hands. It's only a thought. It may not be practical. Adrian's voice warmed. That's all right. Let's hear it. Lily bit her lip. Could we start with patients instead of hospitals? We could host free community health screenings and offer risk assessments in exchange for informed consent to use the data. Hospitals would face less exposure, and the public might be more receptive. The room went quiet for a beat. Business development lead brightened. There may be something there. Marcus nodded. If the consent trail is airtight, it could address part of the data shortage. Adrian looked at Lily with open approval. Good thinking. She lowered her head and blushed. Comments didn't lie. This is my heroine moment. This was the idea Serena was supposed to use later to save the project. And I said it first. My pen stopped. So that was how it worked. The comments gave Lily more than predictions. They gave her ideas that had originally belonged to me. Adrian turned my way. Serena, what do you think? The silence in the conference room was thick enough to cut. All eyes were fixed on Lily Parker, who sat at the far end of the long mahogany table, her hands clasped tightly over her notebook. She looked like a small, defenseless animal that had accidentally stumbled into a gathering of apex predators. But I could hear the frantic, electric buzzing of the comments inside her head. Oh my God, she did it. Lily took the initiative. Our clever little heroine. She's using the screenwriting plot shortcut. The vicious wife won't know what hit her. Look at Adrian's face. He's completely captivated. The affection score is definitely rising. I slowly turned my pen between my fingers, keeping my expression entirely neutral. The idea Lily had just pitched, hosting free community health screenings to collect clinical patient data directly through informed consent, was indeed mine. I had spent 6 months drafting the feasibility study for it 2 years ago, before I decided to step back from active management. I had locked the files in my private, offline server at home. The comments in Lily's head weren't just predicting the future, they were acts of corporate espionage dressed up as a supernatural system. Serena? Adrian's voice broke the silence. He was looking at me, his eyes carrying a trace of warning, as if expecting me to shoot the idea down out of petty jealousy. What do you think of Lily's proposal? It seems like a highly creative way to bypass the institutional bottlenecks. I smiled, letting the warmth reach my eyes. I think it's brilliant. The entire room seemed to let out a collective breath. Lily's shoulders dropped slightly, but the frantic commentary in her mind shifted immediately. Wait, why is she agreeing? Is the vicious wife trying to steal the credit? Don't let her, Lily. The comments say this is your ticket to the top. In fact, I continued, leaning forward and resting my chin on my hands, it's so brilliant that I think we should fast-track it. Marcus, what is the minimum sample size we need from a pilot to prove data viability for the hospital? Network RFP? Marcus Reed, our CTO, adjusted his glasses. He looked at me, a flicker of understanding passing through his sharp eyes. He had been with Astron since the early days when we were operating out of a damp basement. He knew my work, and more importantly, he knew when I was setting a trap. For a statistically significant pilot, we'd need at least 5,000 unique clinical profiles with longitudinal tracking over 3 months, Marcus said carefully. It's a massive logistical undertaking. It requires mobile diagnostic clinics, licensed nurse practitioners, and an incredibly robust, HIPAA-compliant cloud storage pipeline. Perfect, I said, turning my gaze back to Lily. Her eyes widened slightly at the scale of what Marcus was describing. Since Lily came up with this highly innovative approach, she should be the one to lead the pilot program. It's only fair that the person with the vision gets the chance to execute it. Adrian frowned. Serena, she's an intern. Leading a pilot of this scale is a lifetime opportunity, I interrupted smoothly, my tone dripping with maternal encouragement. Adrian, you just said she has immense potential. If we shield her from real responsibility, how will she ever grow? Of course, she won't be entirely alone. As her direct manager, I will oversee her progress. But she will have full creative and operational control. Inside Lily's head, the comments erupted into a frenzy. Host is getting a major quest. Quest, lead Project Orion's pilot and achieve 95% accuracy. Reward, Adrian's affection score plus 15%. Wow, the system is giving us a massive boost. The vicious wife is literally handing us the victory on a silver platter. She is so stupid. She thinks she's giving Lily a hard time, but she's just accelerating her own divorce. Lily bit her lower lip, trying and failing to suppress the triumphant spark in her eyes. She stood up and bowed slightly. Thank you, Miss Shaw. Thank you, Mr. Holt. I won't let you down. I'll make sure Project Orion succeeds. I'm sure you will, I whispered softly. What the comments, the system, and Lily didn't understand was why I had shelved that project 2 years ago. Collecting direct patient clinical data through public screenings wasn't just a logistical nightmare, it was a legal minefield. The regulatory compliance required to handle diagnostic-grade health data outside of a traditional hospital network was so strict that a single misstep, a mislabeled consent form, an unencrypted transmission, a single unlicensed staff member, could result in millions of dollars in federal fines and criminal liability. I had shelved the project because the legal risks outweighed the rewards at the time. Now, I was handing the steering wheel of this legal time bomb to a 22-year-old intern who believed she was the main character of a romance novel. Over the next 3 weeks, Lily was a whirlwind of activity. She was rarely at her desk in my office. Instead, she was constantly in and out of Adrian's office, carrying colorful charts, marketing mock-ups, and drafts of promotional flyers. She spent late nights working, and Adrian, touched by her dedication, began staying late as well. Every evening, my phone would ping with silent alerts from the office security system and the corporate network logs. I sat in my study at home, a cup of chamomile tea in hand, reviewing the logs. User Parker accessed Project Orion's core database at 10:45 p.m. User Parker exported clinical data schema to personal device via unverified external portal. I smiled, taking a slow sip. She was cutting corners. She had to. Setting up a fully compliant data ingestion pipeline in 3 weeks was impossible for someone with her background. She didn't understand the difference between an encrypted AWS GovCloud bucket and a standard consumer-grade Google Drive. And her comments were encouraging her to take the easy way out. System advice: use the cloud database service recommended in the forum. It bypasses the slow corporate security check. The faster you get the data, the sooner you can show Adrian the results. Yes. The male lead loves efficiency. Don't let the vicious wife's stupid compliance rules drag you down. On Wednesday afternoon, Adrian knocked on my office door. He didn't wait for me to answer before walking in. He looked tired, but there was an underlying excitement in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years. Serena, have you seen the preliminary numbers from Lily's pilot? He asked, throwing a folder onto my desk. The first community screening in the North District was a massive success. They collected over 1,200 patient profiles in a single weekend. The data quality is incredible. Marcus's team is already running it through the model. I opened the folder, skimming the beautifully printed graphs. The numbers look impressive. But Adrian, where are the signed consent forms and the digital certificates for the data transfer? Adrian sighed, his posture stiffening. Why is that always the first thing you ask? Can't you just, for once, celebrate a win for the company? Lily worked 48 hours straight to organize that drive. She even got a minor cold from standing in the wind all day. I am celebrating, Adrian. I'm celebrating the fact that we haven't been sued yet, I said, my voice perfectly level. The HIPAA omnibus rule requires explicit, multi-layered authorization for machine learning training use cases. If those consents aren't structured correctly, this data is toxic. We can't use a single byte of it. We have a legal team, Serena. They can patch up the paperwork later, Adrian said, his voice rising slightly. The hospital network's RFP deadline is in 2 weeks. If we wait for your endless bureaucratic reviews, we'll lose the contract to our competitors. Lily has shown more initiative in 3 weeks than some of our senior executives have in 3 years. Inside the hallway, I heard soft footsteps approaching. Then, the familiar, annoying voice drifted through the wall. He's defending me. Oh my God, Adrian is literally fighting his wife for me. The affection score is at 82%. We are so close to unlocking the confession storyline. Look at how bitter the vicious wife is. She's just jealous because she's old and useless now. The door opened slightly, and Lily stood there, holding a tray with 2 cups of coffee. She looked pale, her nose slightly red from her cold, wearing an oversized knit sweater that made her look incredibly fragile. I'm sorry, she whispered, her eyes darting between Adrian and me. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just brought some coffee, and I wanted to tell Mr. Holt that the second batch of data from the South District has finished uploading. Adrian's expression softened instantly. He stepped toward her, taking the tray from her hands. Lily, you shouldn't be carrying things. Go home and rest. You've done more than enough. I'm fine, Mr. Holt, she said, giving him a brave, watery smile. As long as Project Orion succeeds, it's worth it. I leaned back in my chair, watching the two of them. It was like watching a poorly directed daytime soap opera. Lily, I called out, my voice smooth and clinical. She flinched slightly, her eyes wide with simulated fear. Yes, Miss Shaw. The South District data, I said, tapping my fingers on the desk. Which server did you upload it to? The main Orion database, she stammered. The one Mr. Reed set up. Is that so? I smiled. And did you use the multi-factor authentication token I issued to you last week? Lily's face went slightly rigid. What token? Why is she asking about a token? Don't panic, Lily. The system bypassed the firewall for you. Just say yes, she has no proof. Yes, Miss Shaw, Lily said, her voice trembling slightly. I used the token. Just like you instructed. Excellent, I said. You're a very diligent worker, Lily. You may go now. As she turned and left, Adrian gave me a cold look. Are you satisfied now? She followed your protocols. Stop treating her like a criminal, Serena. It's unbecoming of you. I have never been more satisfied, Adrian, I replied, looking him straight in the eye. He didn't know that the multi-factor authentication token I had given Lily was a custom honeypot tracker. It was designed to log the IP address, device MAC address, and specific network paths used during any data transfer. Lily hadn't used the token because she couldn't. She had used a backdoor cloud service hosted on a public, unsecured server in Eastern Europe, a shortcut her system had provided to speed up the data transfer and bypass our strict internal security firewalls. She had just uploaded 1,200 highly sensitive, private medical records of American citizens onto an unsecured, public-facing server. And I had every single log of it, stamped with her digital signature and her personal credentials. The next 10 days were a masterclass in quiet preparation. While Adrian and Lily were busy celebrating their breakthrough pilot in the local business tech media, there was even a small article in the local paper featuring a photo of Adrian standing next to Lily, praising the fresh, youthful energy behind Astron's latest initiative. I was holding private meetings. Not at the office, but at the private, high-security law firm of Vance and Sterling, which managed my family's estate. The evidence is ironclad, Mrs. Holt, or rather, Miss Shaw, Arthur Vance, my family's senior trustee, said as he pushed a pair of gold-rimmed reading glasses up his nose. He reviewed the documents I had laid out on his desk. Your husband's signature is on the operational authorization forms for this pilot. But the actual execution, including the security bypasses and the unauthorized third-party cloud hosting, was done under the credentials of one Lily Parker. And the legal implications? I asked, sipping my espresso. Severe, Arthur said with a cold, professional smile. Under the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health, HITECH, Act, willful neglect with no correction carries a minimum penalty of $50,000 per violation, up to a maximum of $1.5 million per year. With over 1,200 records compromised, the civil penalties alone could bankrupt the operational entity of Astron Group. Furthermore, since your husband signed off on the project without verifying compliance, he is personally liable for fiduciary negligence. And my shares? Your 37% voting stake is held under the Victoria Shaw Revocable Trust, Arthur explained, tapping a folder containing my mother's will. The trust contains a specific clause: in the event of major corporate malfeasance, regulatory investigation, or a vote of no confidence that threatens the capital of the trust, you have the unilateral right to freeze the board's voting rights and initiate a forced restructuring of the executive committee. Adrian Holt only owns 15% of the company's shares. The remaining shares are scattered among venture capitalists who will run for the hills the moment a federal investigation is announced. So, I hold the keys to the castle, I said softly. You are the castle, Miss Shaw, Arthur corrected me gently. Your husband has spent the last 5 years sitting in your mother's chair, believing he built the walls himself. It is time to remind him who owns the land. I stood up, smoothing the front of my tailored silk trousers. Let the legal team prepare the filing. We will present it at the 10th anniversary gala next Tuesday. It will be a spectacular event, Arthur smiled, bowing his head. When I returned to the office that afternoon, the atmosphere was festive. The marketing team was setting up decorations for the anniversary gala. Adrian had spared no expense. He had booked the grand ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton, inviting all our major investors, local politicians, and representatives from the hospital network we were hoping to sign for Project Orion. As I walked past the main conference room, I heard a familiar giggle. I stopped near the glass door, keeping myself hidden behind a large potted palm. Inside, Adrian was standing close to Lily. He was holding a small, velvet box. It's a small token of my appreciation, Lily, Adrian said, his voice soft. Carries a tone I hadn't heard him use with me in a decade. For everything you've done for Orion. And for me. Lily opened the box. Inside was a delicate platinum necklace with a small diamond star pendant. Her eyes filled with tears on cue. Oh, Mr. Holt. Adrian. I can't accept this. It's too beautiful. What would Miss Shaw say? Oh my God, that Starry Night necklace. The male lead is gifting her the legendary plot item. The affection score is at 94%. Just 6% more and the divorce option unlocks. Look at her acting so sweet. The vicious wife is going to lose her mind when she sees this at the gala. Adrian gently took the necklace from the box and stepped behind her, brushing her long hair aside to clasp it around her neck. Serena doesn't need to know. Besides, after the gala next week, things are going to change. I've already spoken to the board's compensation committee. We are going to restructure the executive team. I need people by my side who support my vision, not people who try to drag me down with endless rules. Lily turned around, her face flushed as she looked up at him, her hands resting lightly on his chest. I will always support you, Adrian. I stood behind the palm tree, watching the scene play out. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel hurt. The man I had spent my 20s building a life with had become so hollow, so easily manipulated by a cheap, supernatural script, that he no longer resembled the passionate, ambitious boy I had married at 24. He had become a caricature. I looked down at my own hand, at the simple, custom-designed diamond band on my ring finger. I took it off, slid it into my pocket, and walked away. The grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton was bathed in soft amber light. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceilings, casting a brilliant glow over the 500 guests dressed in black tie attire. Adrian was in his element. He stood near the stage, surrounded by a group of venture capitalists and local politicians, a glass of champagne in his hand. Laughing heartily. He looked sharp in his tailored tuxedo, but to me, he looked like a puppet who hadn't realized his strings were about to be cut. Lily Parker stood a few steps behind him, playing the role of the humble assistant perfectly. She wore a stunning, backless emerald green silk gown that was far too expensive for an intern's salary. Around her neck, the diamond star pendant glittered under the chandeliers. The comments in her head were practically screaming in celebration. Look at her. Our Lily is the absolute star of the night. The emerald gown is perfect. It completely outshines the boring black dress the vicious wife is wearing. The system says the climax is tonight. Once Adrian announces the partnership and the corporate restructuring, the divorce paper will be served. I stood near the entrance, holding a glass of sparkling water, wearing a simple, custom-tailored black velvet gown with a high collar and long sleeves. It was elegant, understated, and powerful. Marcus Reed stood beside me, his expression grim. Everything is set, Serena, Marcus whispered, his eyes scanning the crowd. The SEC and the Department of Health and Human Services compliance officers are already in the holding room downstairs. I've handed over the server logs and the offshore IP routing reports. They've verified that over 1,200 patient records were leaked. Thank you, Marcus, I said softly, taking a sip of water. And the board members? They're all in the VIP lounge, waiting for the presentation. They have no idea what's coming. They will soon. At 8 o'clock, the chimes rang, signaling the start of the presentation. The guests began to move toward the center of the ballroom, facing the grand stage, with its massive LED screen displaying the Adrian Group logo and the words, "Celebrating 10 years of innovation." Adrian walked up the steps to the stage, taking the microphone. The crowd erupted into applause. He smiled, raising his hand to quiet them. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate 10 years of Adrian Group, Adrian began, his voice booming with confidence. 10 years ago, we started in a small room with nothing but a dream. Today, we are on the verge of launching a technology that will revolutionize healthcare, Project Orion. Applause rippled through the room. Lily stood near the edge of the stage, her face glowing with pride. But we didn't get here alone, Adrian continued, his gaze drifting toward Lily. True innovation requires courage. It requires the willingness to break through old boundaries and bypass old, rigid ways of thinking. Recently, a new member of our team showed us what that courage looks like. I want to invite our lead marketing and operations specialist for the Orion pilot, Lily Parker, to join me on stage. The crowd murmured in surprise. An intern being called to the stage at a 10th anniversary gala was highly unusual. Lily walked up the steps, her emerald gown catching the light. She looked nervous but incredibly happy. Inside her head, the comments were reaching a fever pitch. Yes. Yes. The heroine is taking the stage. Affection score, 98%. We are almost there. The system is unlocking the final reward. Look at Serena's face. She must be dying of jealousy right now. I wasn't dying of jealousy. I was counting down the seconds. With Lily's brilliant approach, we successfully completed our pilot program, collecting over 5,000 patient records with incredible accuracy, Adrian announced, gesturing toward the screen. And tonight, I am proud to announce that Adrian Group is officially submitting our final bid for the regional hospital network contract. He paused, expecting a thunderous round of applause. Instead, I stepped forward from the crowd. My heels clicked against the marble floor, the sound sharp and commanding in the sudden quiet of the ballroom. All eyes turned toward me. Serena. Adrian's smile tightened, his voice dropping slightly as he spoke into the microphone. What are you doing? We are in the middle of a presentation. I know, Adrian, I said, walking slowly toward the stage. I didn't climb the steps, I stood at the base of the stage, looking up at him and Lily. But as the majority shareholder and the trustee of the Victoria Shaw Trust, I cannot allow you to present fraudulent and illegal data to our investors. A collective gasp went through the room. Adrian's face went instantly pale. Serena, have you lost your mind? This is a private family matter. This is a corporate matter, I interrupted, my voice perfectly clear, carrying easily to the back of the room without a microphone. The data you are presenting tonight for Project Orion was collected in direct violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, and the HITECH Act. Over 1,200 patient clinical records were uploaded to an unsecured public server hosted in Eastern Europe. Lily's face drained of color. She took a step back, her hand flying to her mouth. Inside her head, the comments froze. What? What is she talking about? Unsecured server? Eastern Europe? But the system said it was a safe shortcut. System error. System error. Major compliance breach detected. That's a lie. Adrian shouted, his voice cracking. Marcus verified the data. The pipeline is secure. Actually, Adrian, I didn't. Marcus Reed stepped forward from the crowd, his face cold. I flagged the security bypasses 10 days ago. Lily Parker used a backdoor routing script to bypass our internal firewalls because she couldn't configure the encryption protocols in time. When I raised the issue with you, you told me to stop letting bureaucratic reviews drag us down and sign the authorization anyway. A loud murmur broke out among the investors. Several board members began talking frantically on their phones. This is a mistake, a misunderstanding. Adrian stammered, looking at Lily. Then back at me. Lily, explain to them. You used the token, right? Lily looked like she was about to faint. Her lips quivered, but no words came out. Inside her head, the comments were panicking. Host, run. The regulatory authorities have been notified. The villainess didn't play by the rules. She didn't react like a vicious wife, she reacted like a corporate executioner. Affection score is dropping. Affection score is dropping. Warning, bankruptcy path unlocked. And there is one more thing, Adrian, I said, pulling a leather-bound folder from my assistant's hands and opening it. As of 7 o'clock tonight, the Victoria Shaw Trust, which holds 37% of Astron Group's voting shares, has officially aligned with the remaining institutional investors. We have issued a formal vote of no confidence. I looked up at him, my eyes cold and steady. Effective immediately, you are suspended from your duties as chief executive officer of Astron Group, pending a federal investigation into fiduciary negligence and data security violations. The ballroom erupted into absolute chaos. Serena, please. You can't do this to me. The luxury of the Ritz-Carlton ballroom had been replaced by the sterile, cold atmosphere of the executive holding room downstairs. 2 federal compliance officers stood near the door, their expressions grim, while Arthur Vance and our legal team sat at the conference table. Adrian was on his knees in front of my chair, his tuxedo jacket discarded, his shirt collar unbuttoned. He looked 10 years older, his hair disheveled, tears streaming down his face. We built this company together, Serena. You can't just throw me out. I made a mistake. I was blinded. I didn't know she was cutting corners. I looked down at him, my expression completely detached. You didn't make a mistake, Adrian. You made a choice, I said softly. You chose to believe that you were the sole genius behind Astron. You chose to ignore the laws, the protocols, and the partner who helped you build everything. All because a 22-year-old girl stroked your ego. I'll divorce her, I'll fire her. I'll never see her again. Adrian begged, reaching out to grab my hand, but I pulled it away before he could touch me. Please, Serena. Just help me clear my name with the regulators. Your family trust has the political connections. You can save me. The trust exists to protect my mother's legacy, Adrian. Not to shield a negligent, unfaithful executive from the consequences of his own hubris, I said. I turned my head to look at the corner of the room. Lily Parker was sitting there, handcuffed to a chair. 2 federal agents were standing over her, reviewing her personal laptop and phone. Her emerald gown was wrinkled, her face smeared with mascara. The diamond star pendant around her neck looked cheap and pathetic under the fluorescent lights. Inside her head, there were no more comments. The scrolling screen that had guided her, fed her ego, and promised her the world had completely vanished. There was only a cold, mechanical error message repeating in her mind. System terminated. User entity facing criminal prosecution. Affection score, 0%. Plot failure. She looked at me, her eyes hollow, filled with a deep, primal terror. She finally understood that life wasn't a romance novel, and she was never the heroine. She was just an ambitious girl who had tried to play a game she didn't understand, and now she was going to pay the price with a federal prison sentence. Miss Shaw. Lily whispered, her voice cracking. Please. I didn't know. The comments. They told me. The comments didn't tell you anything, Lily, I interrupted her gently. Standing up from my chair. Your own greed did. You wanted a shortcut to wealth and power, and you didn't care who you stepped on to get it. I walked toward the door, my heels clicking softly against the linoleum floor. At the threshold, I stopped and looked back at Adrian, who was still slumped on the floor, weeping silently. Our legal team will deliver the divorce papers tomorrow morning, Adrian, I said, my voice steady and quiet. You can keep the suburban estate. I don't want to live in a house built on borrowed time. Serena, please. I didn't look back. As I walked out of the holding room and into the quiet night air of the city, the cool breeze hit my face. I looked up at the stars glittering above the skyscrapers. For the first time in 5 years, I felt completely light. I had spent too long standing behind a man who didn't deserve my light. Now, the stage was mine again, the company was mine again, and my story was mine too. Right. And this time, there would be no comments.